Alright, good evening, and we're ready to start our next lesson. Today's learning goal is that students will be able to use the partial quotients method to solve division problems. So in the past, when we were doing it, we were using the acronym for Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? And we'd go through that process step by step to solve our division problems. Today we're going to look at a different way of doing it. It's called partial quotients. In the partial quotients method, we're going to use multiples of the divisor in order to help us solve that problem. You may remember that a multiple is the product of a number that's multiplied by a common factor. What does that look like? Well, here's an example. If you have 36 and you multiple 36 is a multiple of 12, and the reason why it's a multiple of 12 is because 12 times 3 is 36, and the common factor that we have is 12. So we're going to use this idea of making multiples of the divisor and see how we can use that to solve division problems. So we're going to start off with the sample problem. Our sample problem is 775 divided by 23. Okay, so we have our Cornell notes set up, we have our learning goal written up here at the top, and we have our sample problem 775 divided by 23. And we're going to use partial quotients, or multiples of 23, in order to see if we can solve this problem. The first multiple of 23 that we're going to use, we're going to try to make it simple, so we're going to use the multiple of 23 times 10. So I'm going to write that down over here. 23 times 10. Well, when you multiply 23 times 10, that's going to equal 230. We're then going to subtract, all right? Because what we're going to do is we're going to take away these multiples of 23 until we get our final answer. So we subtract, we get 5 minus 0 is 5, 7 minus 3 is 4, and 7 minus 2 is 5. Well, that made our number a little bit smaller, but it's not small enough yet. So we're going to do another multiple of 23, and we're going to do 23 times 10 again. And that's going to make this 230. We're going to subtract again. So 5 minus 0 is 5. 4 minus 3 is 1. And 5 minus 2 is 3. Well, that got us a little bit smaller, but not small enough yet. So we're going to do it again. So 23 times 10 again is going to be 230. We're going to subtract. We get 5, and then we have to borrow and make this an 11. And this is a 2. So now we have 11 minus 3 is 8. And then 2 minus 2 is 0. Now we look and we see that 85 is less than 230. That means that we can stop with our multiples of 10. Or sorry, 23 times 10. And now we're going to look at something that's smaller than that. See if we can come up with an answer. Now we're going to kind of look at the way we have in the past. How many times does 23 go into 85? Well, I'm not sure. So let's try 2 times. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 23 times 2. So 23 times 2 is 46. Again, we're going to subtract. We have to borrow, makes that a 7. 5 becomes a 15. 15 minus 6 is 9. 7 minus 4 is 3. And we compare, we see, is that 39 less than 23? No, it's not. So we need to take some more out. Can't take away 46, so now we're going to take away just 1. So we're going to do 23 times 1. And so that's equal to 23. We're going to subtract. 9 minus 3 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. And so what we've done is we have all of these answers over here, all of these factors, and we're going to add them all up. So we have 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30. 30 plus 2 is 32. 32 plus 1 is 33. 33 is going to be the answer, so we can put that right up top here. And then our remainder is going to be 16. So the answer to this problem is 33 with the remainder of 16. Okay, and so our answer, 775 divided by 23, is equal to 33 with the remainder of 16. Let's do another sample problem using partial quotients. This time we're going to do a little bit differently. We're going to use different multiples instead of just 10. So the sample problem we're going to do is 1,450 divided by 32. Okay, so we go ahead and write the problem down, 1,450 divided by 32. We're going to look for a multiple of 32 that we can subtract out of our dividend and see if we just work down and keep making our dividend smaller and smaller and smaller until it ends up being a remainder or it ends up being 0. So this time we're going to look, and instead of just using 10, we're going to look at another multiple. And this time we're going to do 20. So we're going to start off, we have 32 times 20. And that's going to equal 640. And so we're going to subtract that. So 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 4 is 1. 4 minus 6 we can't do, so we borrow. Becomes 14. And 14 minus 6 is 8. Alright, so this time we're going to look at it. Well, 810 is bigger than 640, so let's use 20 as our multiple again. And so we're going to say 32 times 20. And again, that's 640. And we're going to subtract that. So 0 minus 0 is 0. Can't do that, so we have to borrow. 11 minus 4 is 7. 7 minus 6 is 1. Alright. So this time we look at what we have left over, 170. We've been using 20. Would we be able to use 10 here? If we use 10 instead of 640, we would end up with 320. But 320 is too big. We wouldn't be able to subtract that from 170. So now instead of using our multiples of 10, we're going to have to use multiples of 1. So let's see what we can come up with. Let's see how many times 32 can go into 170. And I'm going to start off, and I think it's going to be around 5 times. So we're going to give that a shot. So we're going to do 32 times 5. When we work that out, 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So we end up with 160. Again, we're going to subtract. And when we subtract this out, 0 minus 0 is 0, 7 minus 6 is 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0. And then we compare. Is this answer less than 32? Yes, it is. And so we're done. So now we just have to add up our multiples over here, or our factors of the multiples over here. And so we have 0 plus 0 plus 5 is 5. 2 plus 2 is 4. And so our answer is going to be 45 with a remainder 10. Okay, so we can look and we see 1,450 divided by 32 is equal to 45 with a remainder of 10. So let's go ahead and do some practice problems. Try these on your own. We have two practice problems tonight. Work those out using the partial quotients method. Make sure that you're showing your work in your notes. That way if you have any questions later, we can look and see how you did that. Pause the video now, and once you've solved these two problems, go ahead and restart the video and check your answers to make sure you did them correctly. Okay, so the answer to the first practice problem is 36. The answer to the second practice problem is 15 with a remainder of 3. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask in class when you come in tomorrow, and have a great rest of your evening.